It begins live. Okay, now we're live.
We're live. Wonderful. And Catherine is on her way back.
Oh, perfect.
This is. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we were wondering. It sounded like you were also at the tail end of another school board meeting, so we wondered if.
Yeah, that was. But luckily, it ended just in time that I could focus here. So.
Yeah, good.
Good.
We decide what the problem was, or shall we? Maybe I'll revisit that with you, David and Jen, another day.
I have a feeling in the future, if it I have a feeling that just I don't know why the boxes were unavailable. I think if you make someone else the host just so that the meeting itself doesn't end and then just quit and rejoin, then that might work, because that's basically what I did, just like as the WebEx council, but from another computer. I would try that first if it happens again in the future. I'm not sure why it didn't give me the option to start live streaming when I joined myself, but
we did try once before we all logged. I didn't know I could just leave, but anyway, we're up and running. So
up and running, very good. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
Ernie was also
so much
asking
for
if
your
it
help.
had
Thank
to
you
do
so
with the
much.
multiple streams at once, so that might be something to look into as well.
Okay. Well, welcome to this a little bit delayed for technical reasons virtual meeting of the Clean Energy Commission. I want to thank everybody for their patience and for sharing your evening with us. Because we've had a little bit of time, I basically see that the commission members who are here are Max DeBoisson, Stephen, myself, Bernie Pelletier, Catherine Deviney, and we have guests this evening. We have Sanil Khatri, we have Nicholas Maton, Christine Feely, Andrew K. Andrew, could you say what your last name is for the record? Just what?
Yep, apologies, Andrew Kohlmeyer.
Kohlmeyer, okay, thank you. And we have Walter Morton. Thank to those folks for joining also. Commission members, could we get a motion to approve the May 25th minutes, recognizing that the last two meetings we've had have really been hosted by the Conservation and Environment Commission, so we haven't had any minutes to post, nor an opportunity to approve our May minutes. So that's why we're a couple months in arrears.
Motion to approve.
Any opposed? Okay, those minutes are approved. In the interest of time, if because Walter Morton is has asked for a few minutes of time and has a small presentation, and because he's been sitting in a common area for half an hour waiting for us to get rolling, I'm going to skip over old business and just maybe Walter, if you're there and you want to talk and present, and then we'll go back to our old business.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thanks so much for having me, everyone. Good evening. Glad that we were able to get going. I'll be pretty brief. I know we had some technical difficulties and got off to a later start, but going back to, I think, late July, early August, I reached out to Bernie because I wanted an opportunity to speak before the commission. I actually work for the Connecticut Energy Marketers Association here in Connecticut. I actually just started a position with them in early June, but a part of the work that I've been doing this off session is going around to different communities. West Hartford is one. I've done the big cities, Hartford, New Haven, Bridgeport, even Stamford, Danbury, some other communities. I'm speaking with just at the grassroots levels with local electeds or energy or clean and green type commissions about what it is we do at CMAQ, particularly a lot of the progress that industry has made around biodiesel and bioheat or biofuel, a lot of the work that it's done to reduce a lot of the greenhouse gas emissions that we're very concerned about, but also we've been trying to organize and let people know that the state of Connecticut is looking this session to kind of push a very aggressive all electrification plan throughout Connecticut. And so we wanted to make residents aware at the local level, taxpayers, consumers, that this was something that, the state is planning. It's something that has the potential to be very, very costly and impactful to the day-to-day lives of everyday Connecticut residents. But as a part of that electrification plan, and this is where CMA, our organization, has some issues with, is the option for biodiesels to play a role in contributing to or playing a role in contributing to reducing our greenhouse gas emissions is kind of being left out of that conversation. And we feel that, one, it's unfair to an industry that has made great strides over the past 2 decades or so in developing a product that is cleaner, lower emissions, and something that can be used in your home oil burners and even trucks that take diesel today without any modifications and any excess costs. The state is looking to promote, again, as I said, electrification, so electric heat pumps for homes, electric vehicles. There's a lot of concerns in our view with the plan to actually make that happen. One, there's certainly not a lot of capacity, or not enough capacity right now in Connecticut for that to be a reality. We also think it's a little funny that all of a sudden the state is kind of a big fan of the utility providers here in Connecticut, which certainly have their issues, and residents, CT ratepayers are some of the highest ratepayers in the nation when it comes to electrical costs. But we feel that we have this product right now that's available that can be used by residents in their homes, in vehicles, commercial vehicles, fleet vehicles that take diesel, and it's a product that's actually a little cheaper than traditional by diesel that's out there now, depending on when you get it. But it is a product that is shown to be reliable. It's very practical. It can certainly help to contribute to a cleaner, greener, more environment. They have plans to get up to B50 blends and eventually, be 100 and be 100% renewable and have a carbon neutral footprint, which is a big deal. So we wanted to just bring that message to local communities and kind of let them know, like, here's what's going on with the state. Again, just to recap, here's our position. I know I'll definitely be in touch, as we go forward, and letting this body know, as well as other bodies, where exactly the state is in this process. They will begin in the next couple of months. Actually, I think as soon as next month, which starts tomorrow, holding kind of public forums and input sessions about their plans, where they want to hear from community members, organizations, or bodies just like yourself this evening, about their thoughts, their concerns. And I just think it's very important that people know what the state's looking to do, where CMA stands on this issue, and a product that they have available today that can go a long way toward contributing to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And it also can be done in a manner that is practical financially for everyday people, right? So I know sometimes as policymakers, they perhaps get caught up in, well, in a utopian kind of idea, this would be perfect, this is, the best thing ever, but they don't think about the practicality of it and how feasible it is for people to implement, and how realistic it is. And so the beautiful thing about bioheats and biodiesel blends is that it can achieve that middle ground, if you will, of making a significant reduction in carbon emissions, but it can also do it at a very, very affordable rate. And that's something that definitely helps with it being practical, and something that can be used today, whereas electrification is something that's going to take quite a while to ramp up to, and still has some issues. So I know I've spoken a lot, Bernie. Like I said, I wanted to kind of be brief and at least let you know why I asked to speak before your group tonight. I'm happy to field any questions, comments, concerns you might have. I know I'll certainly be in touch and at least providing information about where the state is in its process. I know as they kind of move along, we would certainly appreciate the commission to, come up to testify, to let our legislators know where you guys stand on this issue, and how it would impact your communities and your beliefs. And we just are really looking at the end of the day to have a seat at the table and be a part of the conversation and be a part of the solution. We have a product that can be a part of the solution, that is reliable and can help, and we'd like to play a role as well. But we need some help and some assistance, and making sure that our legislators know that. So it's one thing for them to hear from me as an employee of this organization, but it's an entirely different thing for them to hear as individuals who are taxpayers, who are citizens, and ratepayers, to give their input and testimony. So Bernie, that's what I have for you all this evening. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm very happy to answer any questions, comments, concerns. Bernie, feel free to provide everyone with my email address, which I know you have. I'd be very happy to keep in touch or have some other conversations outside of this evening's meeting with everyone. So thank you.
Walter, thank you very much, and thanks for sticking with us through our technical issues there. And again, perhaps to set your mind at ease, well, I myself am clearly an advocate of electrification, but I'm also pragmatic, and I think I speak for all the other commission members as well, as we have to find a pragmatic way forward. And I do believe that biodiesel is part of that. Our clean energy plan specifically calls out for, we don't call it electrification only, we call it decarbonization. And we explicitly talk about biofuels as one way to that route. And I think, you know, DEEP might have their preferences, but I think there was a bill that was approved last June. It's an act concerning low carbon fuel blend heating oil. And I think it as memory serves, it maybe did two things. It, as you said, it sort of mandated an increase subject to availability of supply of biodiesel as a component of heating oil to 50% by 2035. So that will have the cut in half, I should say, the carbon emissions and lower other emissions as well. That's good. And I think it also directed DEEP in its greenhouse gas inventory, where they quantify the impact of all of our energy consumption, to credit, i.e. to recognize the fact that this bioheat, as it's called, has a lower greenhouse gas thing. So I think we're there, even as though we also support electrification. I think the pragmatic element that you are speaking of is something that I'll speak for myself and invite Max and Catherine and Stephen to join, but that's sort of how I look at this. Max or Catherine or Steve, anything you would add or subtract or arm wrestle me on?
No, no, appreciate the comments. You know, I think we've been lucky to have Stephen as an active member, so biofuels are always on the table in our meetings.
I mean, speaking also, I think one of the roles of this commission is to keep an open mind and educate people about all the options available. You know, we are actively engaged in a Heatsmart campaign, but that doesn't mean we can't provide information on other options to people as well. From the town's perspective, we don't use a lot of heating fuel oil. Stephen and I tried unsuccessfully to engage some of the small sites that use very minimal heating oil to do a biodiesel pilot, and the maintenance guys didn't get around to doing it. I think I don't know why. We did make a valiant effort though, but we could revisit that. But honestly, we don't have a lot of sites that burn heating oil. The major place where we use it is in vehicles and equipment, and that's under the umbrella of Public Works. And I don't know too much about, I know a lot of that is just procured through gas cards straight from the pump. So, you know, our options of greening that supply at the gas stations, you know, as a town are limited. I think we'd have to tackle the gas stations themselves.
Okay.
But that's just me. I don't know too much about how the town procures their diesel.
Okay, Walter, I'll take you at your word. I know you're making the rounds. I will share your in a minute.
Please do.
And so you'll hear from us. I think we'll see each other in some of the comprehensive energy strategy meetings, which are, I think one starts tomorrow, and then there's a series of 2 or 3 Actually, I think tomorrow is the hard to decarbonize sectors, and I expect that biofuels will be somewhat the star of that show, because you're certainly one of the answers, along with hydrogen, to areas that are really difficult to electrify.
We hope so. And so if and to Catherine's point earlier, if there is any further conversations or interest in kind of seeing how the town procures their diesel, and if there might be any interest in seeing about them using a biodiesel, we could certainly make that happen. So I can do a little bit of legwork and probably give a call to Steve later on and get back to you there on that front.
Yeah.
But if not, Bernie, I guess I'll be seeing you on a call tomorrow.
All right. And Walter, you're welcome to stay on. It counts as a form of purgatory, so it'll shorten your wait to get into heaven.
I would love to, but I've got to go to another purgatory meeting. There's I'm on the board of Ed in Hamden, and I told them I wouldn't be able to make it. I've got a work thing to do, and they're like, we need a quorum. Can you please get here? So I'll be doing my civic duty down there, but I will certainly be keeping in touch with you all in West Hartford. So thank you so much for having me and the platform and the opportunity, and I'll be in touch.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. That was great. Thank you, guys. I'm going to jump back up to old business.
Do you want me to put the agenda on the screen, Bernie?
Yeah, Catherine, if you can do that, that's great. With regard to Heatsmart, I'll just say you had 183 registrants. Those are people who've come in. Actually, the question mark is, as of today, it was 199. So that's 199 people who have signed up. Of those, 52 people could not get a HES audit for some reason or another. Either that we couldn't reach them once they signed up, or they'd already had one in the last 3 years, or their house was too new to let them qualify. So 147 of that 199 are in the process of getting their HES audits. We are going to engage with economic development and public safety, because the Heatsmart campaign is really two things. It is first, and I guess foremost, encouraging residents to make their homes more efficient by building shell improvements, upgrading their equipment, and all the elements of the Home Energy Solutions and the Home Energy Solutions income eligible programs. And then to also just educate people about heat pumps, both air source and ground source. And we are going to reach out as part of our next element of letters, I would say, to owners of 2, 3, and 4 family homes, and make sure that they understand what their HES options are, as well as another tranche of residents. We've already reached out to probably 6,000 residents. We're going to reach out to some more via a mail. An event coming up. We actually have an event that's not on this agenda, which is this Sunday. We'll be tabling at the farmers market. So any of you who want to buy some fresh vegetables and craft cheese, you can stop by and see us at the Heatsmart tent. And also, as is on the agenda, we are having a drive, as we've had, I think, the last several years, an EV event, electric vehicle event in the town hall parking lot. That'll be on 9/25, also associated with the Sunday farmers market. So again, come down and get some delicious food, stop by and take a look at the newest and snazziest electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles. Catherine, I think as of May, just in reviewing those minutes, the town was on the verge or the cusp of getting a bronze certification for SolSmart. Is that where we are at? Or?
Am I live? Yeah, okay. So I am working with the town planner and the building department on getting the town a SolSmart certification. Our target is going to be to do that sometime in 2023. We've worked through some things. we're doing a review of some of our building permit practices and zoning regulations and things like that. And the building department is implementing a new permitting system, which will also play into that certification. So we're not actively working on it right now because there are a few things that need to fall into place, but our aim is to be a SolSmart Bronze certified community sometime in 2023, with a view that that will earn us points towards maybe a gold sustainable Connecticut certification in 2024.
And Catherine, if I'm a resident of West Hartford, and what this does for me is it sort of, correct me, but in my view, it makes it the process of getting approved by the town for solar on my roof easier and smoother. Is that fair?
Yes, it's kind of a designation. So you're really documenting processes that you have. As you document them, you might improve those processes, but it really is just kind of like a certification like Sustainable Connecticut or LEED or something that just signifies you're kind of open for business and your community has tried to put in practices, permitting practices, zoning practices that facilitate getting solar. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, and good point. So that if we're perfect already, and we're not, SolSmart will just tell the world that we're perfect.
Right.
If in the process of self-examining to try to get this designation, we find some things and improve some things, then we'll improve. But so we shouldn't expect then the world to really change dramatically for residents on solar. Other than it says that West Hartford is really supportive of solar in town. Okie dokie. Catherine, the next issue is another in-flight project.
Yes, just to give you guys an update, Bernie was very interested in some of the capital improvement projects. Specifically, we have 9 elementary air quality upgrade projects coming at us over the next 15 years. The funding, $15 million spread out over those years. And Webster Hill and Duffy are the first ones. Those projects include upgrading adding or upgrading the ventilation systems and new windows. And just to let you guys know that Webster Hill and Duffy are currently in the middle of design. We got our preliminary cost estimates, which were all way above the budget. So we are looking at those designs as well as looking at some of the additional funding that might be coming down from the federal level, although those grants probably will not be available for Webster Hill or Duffy. The timeline might line up better with the future projects.
And Catherine, I think my particular interest, we want fresh air for our kids, obviously, or in my case, my grandchildren, in the age of COVID and monkeypox and who knows what, we clearly need that fresh air flowing through there and clean air. Prior to that, we'd worked on tightening these buildings, insulating these buildings, and so forth. And so, to a certain extent, even as we seek to get more fresh air in, that can work against energy efficiency because we essentially take conditioned air and throw it out and pull in cold or warm air and then have to recondition it. I believe from last time that both of these schools are looking at energy recovery as part of this.
They are. And just to put it in perspective, some of our buildings are even a step behind what you described. They were built in the 50s. They actually have their ventilation is their leaky windows. So we cannot seal them up until we put in some form of mechanical ventilation because there would be no fresh air in the buildings. So for example, Duffy, we're putting in new windows and a mechanical fresh air system at the same time. They're that old that they're very simple building designs. So you can imagine what a task that is, trying to find room in ceilings and, you know, different additions, different years, trying to get fresh air to the spaces you need, while at the same time, as you said, controlling it so that we're not you know, heating and cooling outside air all the time.
Yeah. So they're beautiful. Well, some of them are beautiful buildings, not all. But yeah, in the 1950s, this is not the type of stuff they thought about. But so hopefully this commission can help meet the really somewhat competing goals of lots of fresh air that is done in a way that we recover most of the energy and cooling, whether it be cooling or heating, dehumidification, that we put into that air, so that we don't have to do it twice, which saves money and still keeps our kids safe. Great. Catherine, you've been working on a grant for over a year. This is on the charging infrastructure.
This is not charging infrastructure, actually. We've finally connected with some guys who are in the background of this grant, because we wanted to kind of change a little bit what we applied for in the context of that. It was a year ago we applied for these funds, and the town has since decided to do most of the infrastructure through a separate project that will be administered by Public Works. So we are going to put a large chunk of that $20,000 towards purchasing the town's first electric vehicle. And I think we've finally making progress, our fleet manager and I, with some of the federal guys behind the grant to get the ball rolling. So once we place the order, and it will be hopefully for a Ford e-transit van that will be driven by our nutrition services manager, because he drives a lot around all the time to the different schools. Once we place the order, the vehicle won't even show up for another year. That's how backed up they are.
Catherine, I don't know if you have this number in your head. How many vehicles does the town have in this fleet? Is it like
vehicles and equipment? You know, kind of diesel powered equipment. I think we have about I want to say 350, 360-ish. That's what I want to say. That includes emergency and police vehicles, but does not include school buses, which are contracted out. Okay. Yeah, but vehicles, actual vehicles, I can't put my number on. I just remember how many lines there are in the larger spreadsheet.
Okay, but the point being that this is taken a long time and it's a very modest step. So.
Yeah. We do have several hybrids, police cruisers and some in our regular fleet, but no full EVs yet.
Excellent.
We plan to paint it nice green with a nice little logo on the side.
Excellent. Catherine, the town sustainability website has been up. It's sort of just a page. Is there?
We still have not done any work on it. So if anyone out there has any interest in working on that project, it's always a back burner idea. But we did work with the former sustainability advisory group after they presented their recommendations and kind of disbanded. A few of them helped us at least put up the bare bones of that website, and the intent is to consolidate a lot of the information that is spread out under different departments into one place, and make it a little more accessible and a little more clear for residents what the town is doing and what they can do on certain sustainability topics. And hopefully make it more visible.
Page now, it's mostly just a list of topics. So if somebody was to volunteer, it would be to turn those topics into a hyperlink and have some text in back of it. Is that the
Something like that, yeah. We're still working out the organization with IT, but yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think from, as I went, just in preparation for tonight, I went through it quickly, and I could see a couple things that I would say would be ours. So we could, maybe I'll go through and see if I can get some volunteers and we can do a little work there. Unless you have to sort of tell us where you are with IT. I know there's a lot of competing priorities, so.
No, I mean, the content would be the same either way. And yes, as you said, it's not all the responsibility of the Clean Energy Commission. You know, some pieces would fall to staff, not just me, but other staff in the town and other commissions. I also believe, Bernie, you probably do too, that this might be a great thing for any newly merged sustainability entity to work on as well. We'll get to that topic a little later.
Absolutely. Just going on in the background, Elmwood Community Center is going to be moved to 100 Mayflower Street, and 100 Mayflower is the site of St. Augustine's School, I think is what it was before. It's anybody that attended the April Earth Day event, that's where it was. That they're going to move the community center to this, probably a new building. I don't think that official determination has been made whether they're going to renovate or build new, but it seems to me they are going to build new. And also the Faxon Library is also going to move there, as well as perhaps a couple smaller town functions. I think we have several two or three community outreach meetings left, which anybody is invited to attend.
And just so this group knows, both Bernie and Joe are serving on that the Citizens Advisory Group for the new Elmwood Community Center. So if you have any wants or desires or feedback, if you can't attend one of the community input sessions yourself, Bernie and Joe are your contacts to get that information back to Tecton Architects, who is doing, as Bernie said, the feasibility study to decide whether we will build new or renovate, and come up with some preliminary concepts and priorities for the design RFP and rough budget numbers as well.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly say it's pretty fascinating. There are perhaps, aside from Catherine is a town person, along with Rick Ledwith, the town manager, and Helen Turco, and several other town employees, and then lots of representatives of different disciplines, like the library is there, the seniors are represented, health districts are represented, and it's really kind of fascinating to see the different points of view come together, because a building is many things to many different people, and you can actually, this is quite an engagement process. It's good to see. I think it's a really open process.
I mean, just to give this group, to lay some of your fears at rest, I do think Tecton is very focused on sustainability. Almost sometimes, Bernie, I feel like at the meeting that they're too much focused on sustainability. If I can say that, you know, I'm very happy that they are focused on it, and I think achieving net zero or net zero ready, I don't think anyone has disagreed with that goal. Am I correct, Bernie? I think that's completely on the table, as well as this building being required to be LEED gold certified, just because of the dollar amount that the project will be.
Yeah, and Catherine, I think that what you see often is that they'll have a specific slide dedicated right to sustainability and net zero, and it's not like Joe and I and Catherine have to articulate it. They've already articulated sort of our point of view, and we emphasize it. Whereas other people, I think, are starting to feel like we're their favorite kid. We're not, but I sometimes feel that other people are sort of jealous because we get our own slide, we get our own sustainability chapter and stuff like that. So I think a couple people are just jealous of us, but it is a very open thing. I mean, it's 8:05 and we have some other business to get to, but so let me just say that. Let me ask Catherine, Max, Stephen, in fact, any members of the public, this bipartisan Inflation Reduction Act is, and accessing federal funds generally, but in particular the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, is huge. But it's also complicated. And Stephen, there's lots of stuff about biofuels and refining in there. Max, I don't see much about carbon credits, but I definitely see stuff about building renovations and electrification and building efficiency. Who are any of you starting to look at this in depth? Because the reason I'm asking is I don't want to be the last guy to decode what's there. I think there's a lot of money. It's kind of complicated, and I think it will be time well spent if we get our heads around and pay attention to this so that we're ready to go as it becomes clear how this is going to come down.
So I've been focused on all the millions towards agriculture, which doesn't really affect West Hartford so much. But I wonder if groups like Acadia Center or others have already done analyses of what this means for local governments and local communities.
I've seen some analyses, but I still am surprised. Well, I mean, I read this in somebody else's analysis, but Stephen, in the past, you've talked with Catherine about the investment tax credit and why the town has to go with power purchase agreements instead of out and out purchase. I think this thing is going to allow non-taxable entities like West Hartford, like a church, like any nonprofit, to get I think a direct payment. So instead of getting forgiveness of taxes, they'll just turn around and give you a payment as though you were paying taxes. I think that's huge.
Yeah, I don't know it well enough to comment on it, Bernie, right now, in that whole thing.
I have just, like you, Bernie, I've just read some summaries of the Inflation Reduction Act. I will tell you guys that on the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, CCM, the Conference of Connecticut Municipalities, is offering a boot camp in several different areas that are under that bill, including energy efficiency buildings, there's charging infrastructure, there's building resilience, there's emergency readiness. I forget what the different ones are, but in our finance department, we do have a grants manager, and Patty has signed up to be the central point of contact for the town for that act, and that any of those federal grants. She's very familiar with federal grants. I haven't done many federal grants. The CMAQ one is my first one, and I'm blown away how complicated it is to get $20,000. I almost wish I hadn't written it and been successful. But so we do have a central point of contact out of our finance department. Our town manager has asked various departments to look at different pieces of it. And Bob Palmer, my director of plant facilities, and I have gone back to him and said, rather than looking at it individually, I think we should all look at the different pieces together, and see who's applying for what and how it all fits together. Because a lot of those different areas seem to me to overlap.
It looks like ICLEI's holding 2 different webinars, info sessions on this. One was
Which one?
one was this morning on the energy efficiency and conservation block grants and the Inflation Reduction Act, and how local communities can take advantage of those funds. And then the next one's in 2 weeks.
For members or?
I clicked on register and it looked like it was about to allow me to register. I don't know. Are we ICLEI members?
We are not an ICLEI member. The town of West Hartford is not.
So it looks like it's free.
Max, what's the date?
The next one is September 14th. I just put the link in the chat.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
I don't know if I can save the chat or not, but okay, September 14th. Good. I think it's. I'm glad that the town is looking at it, Catherine. I think you're right. There's a lot of angles, so you got to have the department heads, not just clean energy, but especially clean energy, taking a look at it. Anything else on old business? Okay, we'll jump down to 3 new business. Catherine, just to make sure we get the time in, why don't we had a very brief with Walter. I can do the FOIA request briefly. Should we talk a little bit about what our druthers are relative to this commission reformat? So this is the first time we've had 2 meetings with pedestrian bike and conservation and environment. I don't know where their heads are at, but Catherine, do you have the ability to flash up that email that summarized the 3 options that are sort of on the table? Or
Let me see if I can find it. Yes, I do.
all right, yeah, that might be.
I sent it out just earlier. Can you guys see this?
Yep, I can see it if you want to scroll down there.
Yep.
Yeah. So the 3 options that are emerging. So create a mega sustainability commission where really the 3 groups, pedestrian bike, clean energy, and conservation and environment, still become and add a 4th, right? Waste, call it recycling or materials management, or would be essentially, I think of it as subcommittees of that committee, but we would still have the ability to meet as a group. So we could still meet as the Clean Energy Commission, but we would just be subcommittees of a larger committee, of a larger commission.
And that was essentially the structure proposed by the first meeting, and aligns most clearly with the recommendations of the Sustainability Advisory Group that met last year.
And I think what that means is those of us that are on this call that are actual commission members would be also members of this bigger commission. So, but we could stay on this subcommittee or potentially participate in other commission in waste or pedestrian and bicycle issues, but we wouldn't necessarily have to. It became clear that jumping to the second one, that pedestrian bike is very, very concerned about losing autonomy. I think they're attracted to the idea of being part of something bigger and hopefully having more influence, but are very concerned that as the little guy, they might get sort of swallowed up and lose their identity. So we said, okay, well, you guys can remain separate, but the 2 of us would, that's clean energy and conservation and environment, could form this larger group. And then the third, and Catherine, I would have trouble. I don't know if you can vocalize that one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The third one is the one that parallels the SAG's recommendations, where we would keep the 3 individual commissions, possibly adding a 4th to focus on waste and materials management. The town currently doesn't have a commission focused on that, and many people believe that, along with many members of the commission, believe that waste is an up and coming, going to be an up and coming crisis area for many towns. So we would keep the commissions, but then on top of that, perhaps quarterly or with some regularity, have representatives of those commissions meet together. This was with the intent of more cooperation and collaboration and sharing of knowledge of what each other's working on and different perspectives, because a lot of that connection doesn't seem to be happening all the time right now. And there was a general feeling that many commissions are kind of operating in their own silos.
I have a question. I saw a email today about Public Works meeting tomorrow with the sustainability group.
The meeting that is tomorrow night at 6 p.m. is a public meeting. It's one of the town council's committees. It's the Public Works Facilities and Sustainability Committee.
Okay, so where is the sustainable? So what is this? Like, that's where I see, like, why are we not part of that?
So that committee is only town councilors. It's 3 town councilors and staff. It's really kind of a council committee so that they can keep abreast of what's happening on the staff side. Steve, in a little bit when we get to the staff report, I was going to share with you guys the utility summaries and the report that I prepared for that committee meeting for the sustainability section. They recently, it used to be prior to this year, it was the Public Works and Facilities Committee. And the councilors who were decided they wanted to add sustainability to their scope of that committee. The mayor is on that committee as well.
Yeah, I just think we should have a little, resources we can lend to that a little bit here and there.
Well, Catherine, we do plug in through you to that, right? You deliver essentially a report.
Yeah, I deliver a report. The purpose of that is really to keep the counselors informed of ongoing projects and initiatives.
And so
and any major issues or things going on. So it's more of a staff counselor reporting group, but it is a public committee meeting and the public are welcome to attend it, and it's all, the links are public. I think Bernie's been to that meeting and other people have as well.
But we would plug in, right now we plug in through you to that. And in the future, any one of the 3 of these options, that I presume that subcommittee of the town council is where we would connect with the town council.
Yeah, Steve, they kind of see that committee as, so if any one of, depending on what the topic is, if the Clean Energy Commission had an agenda item for the council, or the Bike Ped group did, or the Conservation and Environment Commission, depending on what the item is, you might get it on the council agenda, but they would probably invite you to the committee meeting first.
Okay.
So it's kind of a stepping stone to get to the town council on an issue too.
Yeah. All right. Bernie, do you want my 2 cents about the kind of joint meeting we had?
Yes, I want everybody's 2 cents on
okay.
what we do here.
it seems like it's pretty clear that the bike and ped want to do their own thing. Okay, fine, do your own thing. You know, if you want to come join us later and have a little more strength, great. But for now, our two commissions should join together and be able to create our own little working groups within it as we see fit. Of, oh, there's a garbage issue. Okay, who wants to work with that particular thing or something? And just, you know, I think it'll allow us to work together. Maybe have a little more power in the town, that there's not 13,000 commissions like there are now. We start to, you know, merge these commissions together because they're too overlapping. And I think we just kind of build it up as it's almost like a live document as it needs to be put out, little fires or issues that come and go, and have little subcommittees come and go through those with our groups together and just move forward.
Yeah, I think that's Max. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a little on the fence. I think it could work any one of these ways. The problem now, right, is with silos and not coordinating what we do. Option 3 doesn't really solve that because there's still that sort of reporting back step, right? It's not everybody in the room at the same time. So you've got possibly a month delay each time for information getting back to individual committees and then flowing back. On the other hand, you know, so I'm attracted to the mega commission. Except like I'd want the individual subcommittees to be empowered to like do their own thing. You know, if Bike Ped wants to, if they've got things that work for them, I'd hate for people coming from other commissions to end up sort of pouring cold water on it because it's not the way they've been doing things.
Yeah. Well,
But I'm generally in favor of the sort of mega commission, but it'll, with the understanding that it'll take somebody really putting in the time to coordinate and organize.
yeah, I'm right there with, like, 1 and 2 are the same. It's just with or without pedestrian bike, and pretty much as Stephen said, if they want to join, great. If they don't, great. If they want to join later, great. And I think, yeah, we would have the ability to form subcommittees to deal with things that pop up, because that's the way the world is now. And we could have some standing committees as well on some things like energy or waste. But we could be very, very much more fluid, I think, in how we sort of address priorities. So, Catherine, I don't know whether you're a committee member or an employee as you look at this, but
No, I think I'm on the same page as you guys, either 1 and 2, and whichever is the path of least resistance. I mean, I hear what Max says on number 3, and the roll up and then getting people to come to those meetings. They probably won't show up, you know, because they've already gone to their commission meeting. So that seems a little, I guess I think about practically, you know, when we're sitting at the table, we'd be sitting at people who might have priority interests in gardens and tree projects and, you know, watershed education and waste and recycling and curbside collection and Heatsmart and you know, energy things. So does that feel right to you all? and we would go off and create these committees as well, but at some point we'd all be in the room kind of talking through different issues. And I'm not, so I'm just throwing that out there to get people thinking about that dynamic, and also thinking about the potential, these meetings, the town clerk has told us don't have to be, monthly 2-hour meetings like commissions typically had. They went over, there are a variety of meeting formats. The mega group might meet only, for example, quarterly or 6 times a year, and on the off months, the committees could meet, or however that works. Or every other meeting could be a meeting of the commission and then a broader town hall type meeting. So there are a variety of meeting formats that this new commission could be more creative in utilizing to make it work. For example, the broader group could meet for an hour and then split out into different subcommittees, or do it the other way around, and come back together if that was interesting to people. So I think there's a lot of flexibility that could be used to make the larger commission work that hasn't necessarily been explored to date.
Yeah, let me just agree with you that if we had 12 meetings where we had to address at each meeting, each 2-hour meeting, the huge array of topics that will be under this umbrella, everybody's going to get like 30 seconds and we're not going to be able to do anything. So I think Max sort of got at this as well. I think periodically we have to come together, but I think we still need time to focus in our silos. And so what you're laying out, Catherine, is a meeting structure that recognizes that, I think is important. But I think it's also achievable. I think we could easily do our business in 2 meetings a quarter and then report into a mega group, for example, as a way to get energy on the table. Also, just to add, a lot of our issues really do have issues in other, like we'll touch briefly on methane leaks in West Hartford. I mean, that's sort of a clean energy issue. It's certainly a conservation and environment issue. And so the fact that we wouldn't have this silo wall in the way, we could actually have a meaningful conversation about it. Okay, I think hopefully we'll all be at whenever the next meeting is, and we can say this in person, but if we can't, I'm taking away mega commission is sort of our vote, is our vote. With practical issues like you raised, Catherine.
I second the proposal for a mega commission.
All right. I think we're all, well, anybody that's not in favor, identify yourself. Okay.
I think regardless of any of these 3 structures, people are probably looking at 2 meetings a month in one form or another to handle it all.
Yeah, 2 meetings a month, sort of in their focus, call them focus groups with a come together under a bigger tent.
Yep.
Yeah, that's I think definitely a way forward. Okay. We sort of talked already about the Drive Electric Week. I know Chris Feely is on this. 9:25, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Town Hall parking lot. We're going to have electric vehicles, plug-in vehicles, electric lawn equipment, e-bikes, perhaps charging equipment. It'll be connected to the farmers market, so all are invited. If I can switch over to the FOIA request that we received about West Hartford natural gas leaks. I can I don't know whether it's not even really worth sharing. What we got from Pura, actually Sam Dynowski of the Sierra Club FOIA this report. It's an Excel spreadsheet. And it basically says in West Hartford since 2017, going partway through 2022, we've had 286 gas leaks identified and fixed in our town. Actually, Catherine, could I share it? I guess maybe if you stop share, I can quickly share. Is that visible to folks?
Very small.
Okay. If it's no help, then I'll just talk a little bit, but I'll try to make it a little bigger. Is that any bigger to you all? Bigger to me, but.
Yep, very big.
Okay, so 17, just using as an example some of the information that's there.
There we go.
There were 20 identified leaks, and I can tell you there's a whole lot of information here, but none of it really is too startling. Like why did the event occur? Well, somebody probably hit it with a backhoe. That's probably what third-party damage is. Corrosion of the pipes is a big one, as you'll see in all years.
Hey, Bernie.
Yeah.
Going back, you said there was like 200 leaks.
There's
fixed in
286, if you can see that.
Yeah.
286. What I'm just doing is drilling down on one year. So I just
those 286 leaks that were fixed, or 286 leaks that were reported.
Reported and fixed.
Okay, so then there's a lot more than just that amount then in total for leakages.
Correct.
Because they don't.
Pretty much, I think, from what I can see of this spreadsheet, they report them, and CNG is out there quick, and they work on it.
But they don't have to fix them all, only if it's going to present a danger.
Stephen, I don't know.
I do know this. So
no,
there's three levels of leaks. There's ones that are okay, don't worry about it. Okay, could be a little rough, we need to keep an eye on it, and those that we need to fix.
Okay.
So so your numbers, I believe, I don't know, I'm thinking that this is just the ones that they've fixed. So there's a slew more of leakers that don't necessarily need to leak, or need to be fixed.
Oh, that's 833. Well, I'm sure nobody can see this, but I'm just going to go across on one row and just see what I see. There's a lot of columns here, so it's reported. The street address. The cause, like we started to see. Third-party damage. It's the pipe. Sometimes it's the bell. Sometimes there's a couple of different things that can get damaged. It's different, obviously different pressure, different pipes of different size with different pressurization. I'm trying to work my way over to see if I can see what you're talking about. If I misspoke, perhaps that these were all fixed. Cathodic coating, repair. So I guess maybe this would speak to what this list is. Repair action. So I think just skimming down, and I try to make it bigger. It looks like they've done something in all of these to make the problem go away. So if indeed what you're saying is the case, that there's some where they went out there and they said, not so bad that we need to do anything.
So Bernie, it could be the case that this list is just of the ones they repaired.
It,
That there's more than 286 leaks, and they wrote down all the information when they actually took action.
Yep, okay. Let me circle back. I won't take your time now, but I'll circle back to see how the FOIA request was written, and see if we asked. My guess is we wouldn't have just. I think we would have just asked for leaks.
Bernie, what is Sam planning and Sierra Club planning to do with this? What's
Okay.
the next step, or us? What is the plan?
I basically, to be honest, don't have a plan. I'm clearly concerned, as I think we all are, about methane leakage at the town level, at the country level, at the planet level. It's a big issue, and so I think we all want to stop it. I was just intrigued. This would be the first time that I've had any source of information about how serious the problem is and what we know about the problem. Actually, I'd be really curious if anybody can think of a use for this.
Well, when we find out what this list actually is, I might suggest you could share it with our town engineer, and see whether they get notified of this, whether they're aware, whether they think that's, I have no sense of whether that's a large, it sounds large to me, but I don't know whether that's a large number or a small number. Did Sam requested this for other towns? So is West Hartford's number a lot bigger than other towns? Like, I don't know where the most leaks are, is it in Hartford, or is it in Bridgeport, or is it here?
I'm sure, well, I have her request. So on behalf of the Sierra Club, I'm emailing this FOIA about reported gas leaks in West Hartford, Connecticut for the last 5 years, electronic format. And she says, in the past, we've received the following data and request to receive the same. And all the headings across the top are what she requested.
Yeah, I think once we find out what it actually is, I would suggest maybe a meeting, or inviting our town engineer to this meeting, or a phone call to ask him, if this commission would like to do something about this, because it's not only a local issue, but a national or a global issue. What should we do? What's your recommendation, as town engineer, who is responsible for the roads and the infrastructure and stuff? I'd probably has more interaction with CNG on these types of issues, so they might have Greg might have an idea of what to do next. Greg and Dwayne Martin.
Yeah.
So, hey, Bernie, what is the intent of getting this information with our group for?
So that's sort of what we're on the topic of. We've talked about gas leaks, and Sam said, well, I can get data. So I said, great, let's get data. But I don't have an explicit plan. I think what Catherine's putting on the table would make sense, is to see, Catherine, I'll jump off of what you said. If the town engineer, for example, knew about this and said, yeah, if we're doing a piece of infrastructure work, we can look at the streets that have a lot of leaks, and perhaps new pipe could be laid at that time, or when we're out and about, we can keep our eyes open. There might be some action that we could work together with the town engineering staff. But Steve, I don't have a direct answer to you. I think just some.
Okay. Yeah. No. I've got a bit of history in dealing with this, and both on the state and the town level, and it's been difficult sometimes. That the deep has the rules of the amount of leakage they're allowed to have, when they've got to fix it, when they don't have to fix it. So it's all state statute stuff.
Okay.
On that part of it. So, and I know the town has been reluctant to get too involved in mandating something with the leaky, fixing it, because they'll wind up being sued by CNG or MDC, and they don't want a lawsuit. So,
well, one thing I think we can do, and we've started that process, is get a better understanding of what this is. So, Stephen, I think you're saying there's a whole world of leaks that aren't in this report, potentially. Certainly ones that haven't been discovered, but even where somebody like Bernie calls up and says there's a leak, and they come out and they say, that's not worth reporting. So I can try to find that. That's a question that we should be able to answer. And I think I don't have a direct answer of what to do with this. So let's just know that there's a little bit of information there, and if we can think of questions and actions to take, let's just keep it sort of in the background.
And I would suggest if you can, to invite Samantha, because she's done I know she's done a lot of work personally for years on this, and has a lot of insight on it too.
All right, that's a good point. Yep. We'll see if we can get her on the docket, because you're right. I know the Sierra Club has done a lot of work in Hartford and probably other places. I'm just aware of what she's done in Hartford.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you talk, the Sierra Club hired their own person to go around with one of those sniffing machines in Hartford, and found that the leaks were about maybe five times or more than what CNG reported or says about. So it's quite interesting, some of the history she has on that.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I'm pleased to introduce this. I'm sorry I didn't have a more cogent presentation or set of answers, but I think we at least got it on the table. Catherine, do we have time to go into the staff reports? You've got quite a lot to report. Uh-oh, is Catherine frozen? I think
you're on mute, Catherine.
Yes, I am on mute. I'm just going to share my screen back, and I think then show you, as someone mentioned,
where are you going?
there is tomorrow night a meeting of the Public Works Facilities and Sustainability Committee of the Town Council, and so I do just some highlights. Catherine Bruns and I get together and just put a few things down here on a piece of paper that they might be interested in. They seem to like this, just kind of like bullet point format. So one thing, just to show you guys, I finally sat down and did the fiscal 22 utility summaries, and we pretty much nailed it. We were right on budget, although gas prices were record high, and I'll scroll down here so you can see the actual budgets. This is the Board of Ed summary. Although my utility summaries always differ a little bit from the official financial documents, even according to our financial system, we were pretty much right on budget, under a little on the Board of Ed side and over a little on the town side. As you can see, our use is back up to pre-COVID levels, and our natural gas use, can you guys see my cursor just to give you
953086?
Sorry?
Yep, 953086.
Yeah. So our natural gas use has climbed dramatically since COVID. And this again is because of COVID ventilation requirements. We really have been running our exhaust fans 24/7 and a lot of our ventilation at night to flush the buildings out. That's a state requirement. And you see the impact that that has when we're heating all this outside air in the middle of winter after hours. You can also see the impact of the record high natural gas prices. And our water use has been climbing a little. We have some very old irrigation systems that are inefficient, and we want to take a hard look at some of those. But here are the little charts, and I'll send this along with the minutes so you can see. But you know, the line that sticks out is this yellow line for the natural gas prices that skyrocketed over the winter. And our water use, as always, is very variable, depending on weather and just timing of the bills. So that's the Board of Ed side. Here's the town side. Again, this one shows a little bit over budget. I think in the financial system, we were a little bit more over budget than that just because of the timing of when the bills were paid. Again, on the town side, a lot of these facilities, you know, police departments, town halls were still open during COVID. So the dramatic shifts in use were not there like on the Board of Ed side. But again, you see the increase in natural gas and especially the increase in natural gas prices. So, and there's our big natural gas price bump. This little dip in water pricing was for about a $26,000 credit that the MDC gave us for some misbillings that I've been fighting for about many years now, related to properties that have no sewer where we were being assessed for the clean water project, which is tied to having a sewer on your property. And so I was able to get a lot of those charges removed on properties like traffic islands and community gardens and some fields where there are no field houses or bathrooms. So those are the utility summaries. I will again send this out so that you guys can see it. Some information about our solar virtual net metering contracts. Just to let you guys know, West Hartford is going to be hosting Sustainable Connecticut's 2022 Certification Awards in our Town Hall Auditorium in November. So that'll be a local event. If you guys are around, you're welcome to attend. I just submitted a few weeks ago our application. This year we put in an application not for certification because we were certified at the silver level last year, but Sustainable Connecticut has a new pilot climate leader designation where you have to have so many points in certain action categories that relate to climate change. And so we put in for that designation, and hopefully we'll get that at the awards ceremony. Just some bullets on our joint meetings that we've already talked about here. Our Drive Electric event, the Heatsmart numbers Bernie already talked about. Coming down, Catherine added some stuff. The food scrap program that Paul Edlund and I started many years ago before we even had a recycling coordinator, and Catherine Bruns was on board. We still have just not all of our elementary schools on board. COVID really set that program back a lot. But we have 5 schools, no, 6 there, 6 schools. These were the ones that were up and running before, and they will be doing food scrap collection starting day 1. So they started today with the beginning of the school year, and plans to roll out to a couple more soon. Catherine Bruns is also working on a grant that she got. She's still negotiating with DEEP the amount that she received and the scope of what they'll be able to do. and the time period that they'll be able to run this pilot for curbside food waste collection in town. So that's pretty exciting. And I think a new sustainability committee with a committee or subcommittee focused on waste will be a huge help to her in getting that grant up and running. We've been working with nutrition services quite a bit on kitchen updates. We have some very old commercial appliances, as well as, I don't know if anyone knows what water-cooled refrigeration is, but we have a lot of water running through the condensers and down the drain anytime that it runs. So it's not only is it an inefficient piece of equipment, but it also uses a lot of water. So we're looking at replacing some of those systems. It's difficult because a lot of these walk-in refrigerators are built in place. They were built in, they were tiled in, they are part of the building. So you can't just remove it and plop in a new one.
Wow.
And then just to close out, the Department of Public Works has taken over the lead on electric vehicle charging infrastructure, but I'm not quite sure where they are on it right now. And I'm getting a little anxious because some of the funding sources that are available to supplement the 300,000 that the town has allocated to this project, some of the applications are due at the end of this month, and some of the EverSources programs, you know, people are putting in applications all the time. So I'm hoping that that we have something coming out of that program pretty soon, some plans. We talked about our EV, and then again, this is not energy related, but for the sustainability committee, we wanted to let them know that you know, there's a lot of work and interested resident groups and individuals who've been meeting to kind of plan some more pollinator pathway gardens. And then I am working at the moment with West Hartford Youth Baseball League. They are going to be putting new LED lights in at Wolcott Park on the field. And they've been working with doing some fundraising for that project. The league is buying the lights and gifting them to the town. We're going to hopefully get together a Sustainable Connecticut Community Match Fund project for them so that they can close the last bit of their fundraising gap for that project. So I think that's it for my little summary that I did for them. Yep.
Catherine,
I think I probably covered most of what was in my staff report. Did I?
that's it. Well, one thing before we go to that, and if you don't know this, just say so, but take a new school like Charter Oak and an old school like, say, Morley, and think of your natural gas cost curve. Does a new building suffer the same cost pain that an old one does, or is that pain worse on those old buildings, or you don't know?
So I do know. So where I'm trying to get back to that. Yeah. So so I just ran some cost per square footage data for something else. I can't remember what I was doing it for. It's interesting you mentioned Charter Oak. So Charter Oak is an all-electric building. It is geothermal heated. It has solar on the roof, and the only natural gas in that building is for the kitchen and for the emergency generator should it need it. So with the spike in natural gas prices, you know, electricity used to be a much more expensive fuel per BTU than natural gas, and it still probably is. But with the spike in natural gas prices, Charter Oak, as an all-electric building, didn't feel the impact of that, and the cost per square foot of that building has actually come back into line, and it's no longer one of our highest costs per square foot for energy buildings like it used to be. So it just shows you kind of how the dynamics can change over time.
But take that one, which is an outlier. Are all buildings sort of suffering the same fate because we're just kind of letting ventilation, or does a more modern building, like I can't think of a more modern building that we have in this school system. Maybe I can't ask the question because we don't have any modern buildings.
Yeah, well, I would say yes. I would say compared to what they were before, yes, some of our gas intensive buildings are obviously felt the hit more. But a lot of our kind of gas heavy buildings are some of our simplest buildings, like Morley, and they don't have a lot of electric plug loads or other stuff in them. So they have much more minimal stuff. So they were low cost buildings to begin with. So they're still low cost buildings, but relatively speaking, yes, they felt the hit more.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hey, Catherine.
Yeah.
Just a question on top of this with Bernie.
Yeah.
Has there been new data about having to vent the buildings? Is that still necessary?
So the guidance from the state has not changed. Bob was planning to go back to the state and ask about that, with the view to maybe cutting back some of the hours that we're ventilating. You know, I don't know what other towns and districts are doing, but I mean, you can see the impact of it right here. So Bob is waiting for some guidance for above, but you know, we're showing people this data. We do have control over the building schedules through our energy management systems. You know, so if we want to roll back the hours to what it was before, we also for COVID have the guidance was to disable any demand control ventilation you have in large spaces like cafeterias and gyms. So all those energy efficiency control strategies that we had in place are not operating right now. And again, you can see the impact right there. So Bob's
or is there a way that they put a heavy
Bob's hoping to
filtration
get some
system?
additional guidance.
Yeah, or put a heavy filtration system in so you don't have to vent it outside.
Yeah.
And accomplish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the systems we have, that's the other thing. The systems we have are not capable of measuring the turns of air, or we don't have that capability. So we're left with kind of the second tier, which is just keeping it on. We don't have the ability to really fine tune what's going on. We don't have full DDC by any means in any of our buildings.
Yeah. At the risk, Stephen, I think you probably know this better than I do, but I think oil price, when I look at price per gallon, oil prices are moderating. I find it hard to believe that natural gas prices are going to moderate. Just thinking about what's driving those costs, which is really the war and Europe and so forth, which I don't think is getting better. So I bring that up only to say that we got a kick in the head this time, but I think we're going to really get potentially this could get much worse. I think the price of gas is going to go up. So it's definitely worth paying attention to this.
Do we have any tanks left in town that we can run biofuel in, or did they pull all the tanks?
They took all the tanks out, actually. Yes, we don't have any dual fuel buildings anymore.
So it was decided to pull the oil tanks out to burn biofuel, so they burn all nat gas. Okay.
Well, that was a long time ago that the tanks were removed, mainly for, you know, UST leakage issues. They hadn't been used and they didn't want them to leak or anything.
Catherine, one last thing on staff, and it really is probably for the next time we'll get together, it will be one of those 3 commission meetings, I guess. And if we now have an equity officer, and I would love to meet this person, or not personally meet her, but I think every commission in the place has struggled with diversity and equity and inclusiveness, that DEI sort of thing. And I would, if it fits in, I think it would be an ideal chance for her to meet us and vice versa.
Yeah, Rosina Haskins, who has been the director of equity on the Board of Ed side, is now going to kind of slide over or do double duty with the town as well. The town interviewed several candidates over the past year or so, and wasn't happy with the candidate pool. So we're really excited about this opportunity. Rosina's done great work on the school side. I know that Kim Hughes on the Conservation and Environment Commission has already met with Rosina on some of the work that she's been doing, and I think I think there are people on that commission as well who would love for her to come to kind of the joint commission meeting and hear what's going on with those groups. So I will make sure that an invitation is extended to her, either from me or from Rick Ledworth, the town manager.
Great. Great. I think we're pretty much at the end of the agenda, and I would like, I don't know if Sunil Khatri, you stayed with us the whole meeting, including our technical beginning. We do have opportunity for public comment if you want to, if there's anything you want to say, or you don't have to say anything. But, okay. Well, good. We did have a couple others, which I took a screenshot of the other folks that did join us.
I'll save the chat since Max put some links in there, and there might be some other things in there.
Yeah, I got a couple. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Second.
All right.
Third.
Well, thank you for your input, your stamina, your inventiveness, and your participation.
So.
Thanks.
Buenas noches. Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally got that sorted out, huh?
You know, it's so hard to get people, and then we came really close. I don't know if David's still on, but glad he was able to help. That was a big
Yeah, that was key. Okay.
Yes, I actually stayed through just in case anything else came up. No problem. I was thinking too, another possibility in the future, if you happen to have any other computers around, that could even be it. Because I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know. It just seems like sometimes WebEx has trouble and it doesn't like, I think it's like the cookies or something. It gets stuck with whatever you did last. I don't know.
Because we did what you said. I didn't know that I could just leave the meeting and come back on myself. So we actually all decided to log off.
Yeah, that was good
log
thinking.
back on, but it still didn't come up for me.
Yeah, that's strange. Like,
that was before you got there. We had already tried once to restart the meeting, and it still, it was just like, I went to the right place, but the boxes to put that stuff in weren't there. It's like, it was
yeah,
black.
that's frustrating.
Did you see that? You saw that, right?
I actually, no,
Oh, you
once
didn't.
I logged in as you, I was able to see it. So that's why I'm wondering if it's almost just like I was the equivalent of just another computer. So that'd be my only guess. But
Yeah.
always, always feel free to reach out in case something like that happens, and we're another backup just in case. And usually we're available. It usually works out.
Thank you so much.
I'll throw in 2 cents. I just am a big fan. I've seen Meets and Teams and WebEx and you name it. I think Zoom to me is the easiest to use. The quality is the visual quality is the best, and it seems more stable. I know originally when it came out, it was viewed as not secure, and so towns and businesses didn't want to use it. But I think you ought to take another look at Zoom.
Yeah, agreed. I agree about Zoom. Like you said, I'm not sure the details of it, but I don't know if it is up to us. I think the town might prefer WebEx for the reason you said.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason we're all on it.
I think so too, but I bet you Zoom is, anyway, it may be an issue that was true at one time and now it's been fixed, but.
Good point. Good point.
All right. Well, thank you anyway. And Catherine, as always, thank you.
Thanks.